Why is it so hard then for an Australian, particularly in the country area, and very few have done it? You know, Keith, has been very successful in the United States, yeah. But it's sort of limited. You know, we've got a lot of rock acts that have broken America, a lot of pop acts that have broken America. Why is it so difficult for country acts
to break in America? Well, I think you've got to do what Keith did. You know, you've not only do you have to be extremely talented, but you've got to be willing to move over there, pay your dues because they really respect that, and I think you have to sort of absorb the culture, and become a part of the big family over there. And Keith did it, and what an incredible job he's done. It's just terrific.
Yeah. What about you? Have you had ambitions to sort of base yourselves over there for a number of years and try and do that?
Maybe when I was in my 20s, I thought about that. But I think when we started making albums like Three Chain Road and Hat Town and all that, I was making music about Australia, and I would have had to have changed all of that to fit into the American genre, because I think when country music really ignites, it's usually making a strong cultural connection. So lyrically, and it's just really the great hits of all time, like the Big Slim hits and True Blue and all that. It's very culturally connected to this country, and that's where the huge record sales are. That's where it resonates in this country. But if I took that to America, they'd be asking me questions. So we don't get it. Like we recorded a song called Scars, and there's all these little subtleties. Dierks Bentley sang with me on it, and they said, "What do you mean stacked your bike? I've got a souvenir, on my leg the time I stacked my bike." They don't say stacked my bike, they say crashed my bike. And there's a whole lot of little things that work here but don't work there.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Dierks there, and what an amazing track that is. How did that come about that you got to perform with him?
Well, I recorded the overdubs for Planet Country at Station West Studios in Nashville, and this happens to be where Dierks Bentley works and writes, and what I did, it was kind of interesting. Rather than go over there, I would log on at 1 a.m. each night on my iMac computer, and we'd do the iChat. So the studio in Nashville had the iChat, and so it was we were video conferencing. I had the same speakers in my studio as they had in theirs, and I'd just sit in on the sessions, and they'd come in, the guitarists come in and say, "What do you want on this one, Lee?" or whatever, and it was just had all of these magical nights, just myself alone in the studio, and all through those midnight hours, all this incredible music was being made in Nashville, and I'm hearing it in Queensland. Yeah. So one night, a familiar face popped up on the screen, and it was Dierks, and he'd come in to have a listen to hear what was going on, and he loved what he was hearing, and I said, "But Dierks, it'll sound a lot better if you're on this as well." And so he agreed to sing with me on Scars.
Right. That's an amazing way to use technology though, isn't it? I mean, 5 years ago that just wasn't possible.
Mate, the digital world is just incredible. It's revolutionised the way you make music now. So when it came to the mixing, Luke Wooten would get a mix up, and I'd kind of hear it, via the iChat, and but then he'd say, "Okay, I think we got it." And I'd say, "It's sounding good here, Luke." And he'd just drag the WAV file from his desktop onto my little inbox or whatever it was on my desktop, just drag it. And 2 minutes later, I'm hearing the full mix from Nashville the way they're hearing it there. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah,
just incredible.
Never need to leave home to record the next record, will we?
You don't,
yeah.
Maybe I won't even have to go down to Sydney so much. I can leave these guys over here and just let them go for it. And I'll just dial it in.
Yeah. What I love about the album lyrically is every single song is a story. Like you're obviously a storyteller by trade more so than a songwriter or a musician. I think the stories must come first, and then the songs are created afterwards. Is that sort of how it works?
Yeah. Well, what always comes first is the title. And one of those things I learned over there in Nashville when I was a little kid was the title is it. Once you've it, prove it. And you should be able to say what the song is all about in one sentence. So the titles really are the guts of the songs, and we have to try and create a song that will resonate, you know, will move people. You know, one thing that I always strive for, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, but if you get the goosebump factor, you know, ooh, this song is kind of working. You know.
And you've said that, you know, every single line is something that you've either lived or believed in.
Well, very much so on this record. This record comes from deep down in the heart, soul, and it's pretty autobiographical in a lot of ways. But you know, I believe in these songs and where they're coming from.
Yeah. And we were talking before about I Milk Cows, you know, which is the additional song on the album, but one of my favourite tracks off the album. Yeah. And the guy who you met who just came out with that line, tell us the story of that night.
Yeah, well, I'd just done a show. It was on the Murray River, one of the clubs along there, and there was a bit of a tailgate party out in the car park afterwards, and I went out there and said g'day to everyone, and, you know, signed a few glove boxes and tailgates, and I was signing this bloke's ute, and I said, Jono, you know, you're a good bloke, mate. You know, tell us, you know, what do you do for a living? And he stuck out his hand. He said, Lee, I milk cows. So I wrote that one straight away, and it was one of the first ones we wrote on the album.
Yeah. Do you perform that live?
I've done it once in Darwin, but not the final version. We thought we'd had it, but we road tested it up there, and we did a little bit of rewriting. So I'll be doing it live, I reckon, on the 2010 tour.
When did that sort of get written along the way in relation to the other songs on the album?
I think it was one of the very first songs that were written. So back in probably early '98, it might have been even 2007. I'm still lost in the 90s. 2007, and Garth was really concerned that it wasn't good enough to make it onto the album, and we were cutting it as a demo, and we'd never played it live before. But we had Mitch Farmer on the drums. I think Glenn Hanna was on electric, and I think it was Matt Scullion on another electric. And we started off at about, I don't know, 120 beats per minute, and, you know, I milk cows. I said, come on, boys, let's go faster, and we just kept going faster and faster and faster, and pushed it to within an inch of its life, and we cut this little demo. And then later we tried to re-record it again, but we couldn't beat the demo. There was just something happened when we cut the demo. The magic was there, and so that's what made it onto the record.